Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. I hope everyone's well as we come to the end of 2021. And today's subject is going to be some dragonflies, because dragonflies are a symbol of renewal and new beginnings and fresh starts, and also of good luck and all sorts of good things that come to us if we're lucky. So I'm hoping that this is going to be symbolic of a good 2022 for all of us. We can always hope and especially pray. So I like to paint my dragonflies really loose. Let me just finish my coffee. I do like a nice cup of Nespresso, don't you? Yes, just a sec. And a few people have said to me, oh, do you have any tips and ideas for painting looser? And of course, all of my paintings are pretty loose. Some people would say messy altogether and totally out of control. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble on. We're going to get started right away. And I'm going to show you as I go along what materials I'm using and the ways in which I make my paintings a little bit looser. So you'll be able to get a sketch of this to download for free on dianeantone.com. So head on over there if you want to get the sketch. And I've been really stuck not knowing what paper to paint on, to be quite honest. I've been having a real problem here because this is on just ordinary sketch paper and it came out quite nicely. So I was thinking, well, you know what, we could probably do it on just ordinary sketch paper. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull a piece out of here. And I'm going to stick that up here as my reference. I also did this one here, which is on Bauhong paper, but I think it worked better on a smoother paper. So let's get started. Now, to draw a dragonfly, you need a pencil, which I'm going to find in a minute. There's a pencil here. And my way of doing them, I do want to say an acknowledgement here to an artist from America called Dean Krauser, who is very popular, and I know most of you will have heard of him, and he has a wonderful, very loose style, and he paints all animals and all sorts of animals and everything. Anyway, my dragonflies are adapted from his style. They're not the same. This is one of his. And he's a man, you see, so he's really messy, but this is great. And yeah, I know he's very famous, and he would be only too pleased to know that I love his work and I advocate it. You can buy his stuff online. He sells his designs on everything, pillowcases, bags, everything. Anyway, so I was looking at his stuff and I was thinking, yes, that's kind of essence of Dragonfly. So I have no idea how he achieves what he does, and I don't achieve anything like as good. But what I'm going to show you today is how I do it, which is I start off with the eyes, and then I draw the body, the two body shapes, and then behind it, it's got segments. As I said in one of the other videos that we did before on dragonflies, it's like a chain of sausages, you know. And then so you just put two wings on either side. So just like that, they come from the body area. So give them a nice swirl. And the nice thing about dragonflies is that you can really do the wings however you want, because there are so many different types. You can pretty much come close to however you want it. So what I was going to do is just cover this sheet of paper here with dragonflies kind of overlapping and generally just making a nice design. So the eyes are here. There's the body. So behind the eye and out of the body come these little, oh God, I can't remember now. I can't remember if they are antennae or I think they're legs. I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, they're things that stick out the front of the dragonfly. My biology teacher at school would be horrified to think that I couldn't remember what they were. But anyway, never mind. She's long gone. So we make them kind of all different angles so they overlap. So like this. And as I said, if you're not confident with the drawing, although these are easy, and I know all of you would be able to, I've heard that somewhere before, everyone would be able to do this, but it's not always as easy as people think. And I know that because it's taken me a long time to be able to come anywhere near to being close to a good sketch artist, and I'm still not when you compare me to the people who can really draw, although I can kind of draw. But anyway, so I'm just kind of indicating the body there. I'm not, they have a kind of curve on the top line of the wing, tends to have a sort of curve, and then the bottom comes up in a kind of swoopy kind of way. And if you're wondering why I'm sounding a bit manic today, it's because if I don't pull myself together and get some energy going by talking twice as fast as I usually do, I'm going to fall asleep. I don't know why. One of those things. So let's put one here. It's been very windy the last few days, and I find wind is a bit disturbing, and all the animals get all chaotic and hectic as well when it's windy. Now, I was watching a video the other day on Skillshare, and there was this woman there demonstrating how she paints flowers, and she has an interesting technique. I don't know, did I mention this the other day? I might have done. I'm going to do this little one here, smaller one. She uses a massive amount of water in her paintings. Now, I do wet in wet, but I don't, what I would say, use a massive amount of water. But I decided I would give it a try to see what the effect was. And so I'm going to show you that for these dragonflies. When you do this, you can take your time and do it a lot slower. So don't panic, because I am just trying to get this done as quickly as possible. We'll put another one over here. I could probably put one upside down, actually, or sort of sideways. There's the body. And thank you, everybody, for your Christmas and New Year wishes, and for all your appreciation of what we've been doing on the channel. We appreciate that very much too. So there we are. We've got some dragonfly outlines there. Now, with this one, I decided to go for nice soft colours, and I'm going to be using my tidied up, because I've cleaned bits of it, my tidied up messy palette. This is a large, I think it's a Demco plastic palette. This is the lid, and this is the bottom part where you put the paints. I always buy my paints in tubes, and then I squeeze them out into these different separate compartments. And then when they dry, they handle just exactly like the little pans that you buy dry in little sets in tins, but they have, there's much more working space, if you see what I mean, than there is in one of these. I have yet to see one of these paintbrushes paint tins tidy, well, except this one, that's not bad, is it? But if you use them all the time, they get really, really messy. And really, there's not any difference because this is just the same paint as what I squeeze out of tubes. Exactly the same paint, except it's been squeezed by the manufacturers into these pans. If it's Schminker, they squeeze it into each individual pan, almost by hand, which is why they're so expensive. Some manufacturers, especially the Chinese ones, they make the liquid paint into like sausages, and then they cut it up into pieces and put each piece into one of these pans. And that's why sometimes they're a bit loose. But these are actually what they call poured paints, and they are absolutely identical to the stuff that I squeeze out onto so it doesn't make any difference. In other words, I do both. I use both. It just depends on my mood, which, as I'm sure you will know from having listened to me now for over a year, does tend to vary. Okay, pull myself together. Where am I? Right, that's the paints. And as you can see, I used pale pink, and so that was permanent rose. That's permanent rose, Windsor violet. Then this is cobalt blue. That's a little bit of orangey something from there. And you know what? Everybody ought to have one of these areas. You can either use the lid of a palette like that, or one of these. This is very clean, and it looks like it could do with being, oops, it's got some dust on it. But this is what they call a butcher's tray. It's about 15 inches, it's about 15 by 18 inches. And often I put paint around the outside edge, and then I use the middle as a mixing area. And that works very well too. And the other thing too, which you can also do, these are paper palettes that they were originally designed to be used with acrylics or oils, but you can use one of those in the center of a big tray like this to do your mixing on, and then you don't get the whole tray all messed up and messy. So that's another option, really, which I sometimes use as well. So there we are, some options for your paints. Somebody said in one of the comments, no, it wasn't a comment on my channel, actually. It was on somebody else's, saying something about mentioning what paints you're using and putting the names on the screen of the video. This takes an awful lot of time, and because we put up a video, we try to get up at least 3 a week, if not 4. In order to get that number of videos up, we have to cut corners a little bit. And one of the things that I have cut corners on, and I've told Tamsin, my daughter who does all the video editing, not to bother, is things like that, because we'll always put the information in the description below the video. So you can find it there. Okay, now the way I'm going to paint these, I'm going to have to slow down now. So I'm going to recalibrate myself. I'm going to take some water in a size, this is a size 7 round nylon brush. And if I can get my eyes to work, I'm going to put a significant amount of water into the wings of the first dragonfly. Now, there's quite a bit of water there, and if you look at it from the side, you can see it's, you can sort of see the surface tension, because it's kind of sitting up a little bit where it's full of water, but it won't flow outside of where you put the brush. It won't do that. And then we're going to paint this one. I think I'll do this one pink too, like the one that I showed you. And so just take a tiny amount of pink paint, or any colour, whatever you like, and just drop that in and let it flow. And then for the other wing, just change the colour a little bit. So I've added a little bit of Windsor violet there, and just dropping that in. Not really painting with it, just dropping it in. And don't sort of make it fill up completely, because you want to keep this really, really light. So something like that. And then we're going to let that dry a little bit. We might put a little bit more pink at the end here, perhaps. And maybe a little bit more violet. Just use the brush really lightly and just have fun watching it move. It won't end up where it is now when it's finished. So then what I find actually looks quite nice with these dragonflies is to come in with the same colour that you've used for the darkest part of the wings and do the foundation row, let's say, of the dragonfly in the same colour. And now we want to add some texture. Well, actually, first of all, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just put the little red eyes in. They have red eyes, so I'm just going to pop that in there. A little bit of red. And then I'll put that away. And there are lots of different ways that you can do the texture for this, and I'll show you a few of the different ways that I use. And often I'll start with a pencil. This is quite a hard one, the one I was drawing with. It's an F, Derwent graphic pencil. And with this pencil, you can put veins in if you want to put veins in. The pencil will just show up a little bit and draw. You can just draw into the paint just a little bit. It's very subtle. So you can do that. And you can emphasize some of it like that. The other thing that you can do with a pencil, which I quite like, a lot of dragonflies have got a dark spot here. This is a Staedtler Karat Aquarelle watercolor pencil in black. It's very intense and it melts into the paper when you touch the water, and it's very effective for things like dragonflies. If you want to make a textured sort of edge, just run down the edge of your paint, the bit that you've painted. Just trying to see if you can see what I'm doing on the camera. And it will give you an interesting texture. You can bring it in at the side to give some shadow. You have to be careful that you don't go too far and make it too dark. But if you do, you can always, like that, drag it out a little bit into the water that you've got there waiting. And if the worst comes to the worst and you really don't like what you've done, there's nothing to stop you picking it up with, or picking some of it up with a paper towel. But I wouldn't be in too much of a hurry to correct what you've done, because you never know how it's going to turn out. So we'll let that dry a little bit. The other thing that you can use, of course, is a fine liner like this, and that's always useful for the legs, or whatever they are. And you can go around the eyes like that. And with this, you can do some nice fine pen and ink work, which is really fun. Sometimes it's nice to go around the outside of the wings as well, just dragging it around a little bit. But what we're going to have to do here, like I said, we're using an awful lot. There's an awful lot of water there, in actual fact. I'm not going to let that sit, because I think it's going to just simply take too long to dry and there won't be anything gained. But we do have some nice blends going on there. So I'll pick up a little bit more mauve, mixed with a bit of cobalt blue, and I'm just going to drop some of that in along the top edge here. And as it starts to dry, you're going to get some nice blends and some lines. And I think, what was I going to say? I think I'll just add a little bit more colour here, a little bit more purple. Give a bit more body. There. Okay, and then I'll go on to the next one. So we do this one, I think. Plenty of water on the wings, like that. This paper is quite smooth. It's just sketch paper, but I think I'm not sure. Can't tell you, I'm afraid. I don't know. I've been trying to find the names of the different papers that I've been using, and some of them I just can't find. Anyway, so we're going to put a little bit of sort of turquoise green in this one on both ends, the top wings. And these are really very much a case of less is more. And then on the inside there, I'm going to look for a sort of neutral, little bit of brownish pink. This is a fantastic way of using up all the odds and ends of colours that are lurking on your palette. If you've got a palette like this, it's quite good. So we'll just do that. And we will come in and do a bit more. But so for the central part, because this one is sort of brownish and green, we'll do brown for the body and the tail. I don't want to bother too much about details. If you look on Pinterest, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of different versions of this style of dragonfly. Lots of people are doing them in this style now. I've been selling them like this for a long time, and then, as I said, I came across Mr. Krauser the other day, and oh, okay, well, that looks a lot like mine. And because, you know, it's a bit like the invention of, what was it? The invention of calculus. You know, two mathematicians working in totally different countries invented the same thing at the same time, almost within the same month or something, or less. And they didn't know anything about each other. They just came up with the same solution. And I think the world's like that a bit, really, isn't it? It's you know, nothing's unique. Okay, so I'm going to use a dip pen. This is a dip pen with a sharp pointed nib on it. Just a regular sharp. It's not as sharp as a mapping pen, but it is quite pointed. In a plastic holder, these are very inexpensive. And I've got some drawing ink here. This is a sepia. Sepia, it's a German one, but any one will do. This one, it's another one, that's another German one, that's Pelikan. There's Winsor & Newton and Daniel Smith. I expect everybody makes some of that. Okay, so we just dip into that with the pen, and you can do, this is a very, I think, if you want loose, this is a good way to do loose. Just let your hand shake if you can bear it, or make it shake. And just emphasize some of the lines. Broken lines are good. Don't make it too solid because dragonflies aren't. And just see what happens and go with the flow. That's the key to being really loose. See how that bleeds into the water when you touch just from the edge. See what happens when you press a little bit harder and more ink is released. Have fun. This is what I call fun with painting, with art. And you can go around the eyes to make them stand out a little bit more. And if, as I said, if it's too much, if you've gone a bit crazy with your demonstration, just lift it out and let it dry, and then you can come back in and we'll put another layer in once they're all dried. And another way to paint these things is to start with pen and ink. And that's fun too, because then all you have to do is colour it in. So you can do your chain of sausages down here for the body. And just sketch in the wings. And then we'll come with the water and we'll see what happens then when we put some water on. I think this one had better be blue. I'll just drop some blue on and leave that to do its thing. Then the underneath one, I think probably green would be nice. So put some green there, and then we'll let that dry, and let's come down, just fill out those sausage links like that. The amount of paint you need when you do this kind of thing is minute. Yeah, it's still wet, it's going to take a little while to dry. So we're already at half an hour, so I'm going to stop here, let those dry, and come back and show you the next layer of painting on top of what we've already got as a basis. Okay, so this is dry. So now the thing to do is to come in with a little bit more colour and just emphasise what's already there. So, for example, we started off with Permanent Rose on this one, but Permanent Rose on its own, as you can see, is a little bit, you know. So let's look for something a little bit more subtle. And what I've got here is Potter's Pink, which is a sort of broken pink. So we just kind of just put some areas in. Hold the brush quite a long way up, sort of past the thickest part where it starts to get narrow. If you want, again, this is another thing that you can do if you're looking for looseness, because obviously your control, the fine detail control, is a little bit less good the further away you get from the, you know how children always, when they're learning to write, they do that. Well, at least they used to. They don't anymore, don't learn to write. But anyway, yeah, so you just hold it further back. The further back, the better. And just using that Potter's Pink, you can just emphasise some areas and leave some areas untouched, just to give yourself a nice ethereal wing type effect. That's the idea anyway. You can change the colour and go to something a little bit more violet. And then after a little while, you'll probably think, oh, that's probably enough for the minute. And don't forget, we will be putting some spatter on later. The eyes seem to have lost their redness, so I'm just going to drop in A little bit more colour there. And then we'll go to this one. I've just taped down this sheet because it has buckled a bit. So a little bit more turquoise. Maybe I'll break that with a little bit of blue. And just come in here, make it a little bit darker at the end. And drag that down in a couple of places. Pop a little bit in here maybe. And then at the end again. And then underneath we've got slightly browny colour under here. So you're not trying to make it look like anything particular, but just to give the sense of the light going through. So we leave that one like that. And then what have we got? We got, oh, this was the other one, wasn't it, down here? So we'll come in with a bit more blue. And then for those ones, those are the first three I did. For those ones, we can probably, what do we want to do? I think this one probably needs a little bit of this pencil work, maybe. I quite like that because just some little dots and dashes in random places. Give it a certain look, and then we could put in some veins if we wanted to. Just using ordinary graphite pencil. This one up here needs some dark as well, I think. Let me put some dark in there. And when I'm holding a pencil of this type and doing this kind of work, I tend to hold it like that rather than like that, because this again gives you less fine control, which is what you want if you want to be loose. And it's still a little bit damp here, so that's good because that means that the pencil will show up more. And over here, same kind of thing. And then you carry on like that. And remembering you can also use ink. I want to put a little bit more ink on the bodies, maybe. And we've got some more down here, haven't we? And so on and so forth. So I think I've shown you everything that I need to show you for this particular technique now. So I'll get on and finish this. And then you meet me back at the end of the video, which will be just in a second, because I'm not going to make this video into a marathon. Then you'll be able to see the way it turned out in the end. It's just a design, it's just a bit of fun. Sometimes these work out really well, sometimes you're not that pleased. It is yet to be seen what this one is going to do for me. But, you know, this was just a piece of sketch paper. And so nothing lost there. I'm finding these days I'm using a lot more black than I used to, because I'm finding that black mixed with various colours gives some very interesting shades. I was taught originally not to use black, but I moved away from that. If you want, you can also put a little bit of shadow behind if you feel that you'd like to, which quite often works quite well with very pale blue. You can just make it so that it looks like it's just above something, but you might not like that effect. I'm not sure if I do or not. Probably not. And this one here. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so most of those are at least at the second stage now, and whether or not we decide to go for a third remains to be seen. But for the minute, just to finish off for purposes of demonstration, I'm going to just drop in some spatter. And this is a good way of spattering is to hold your rigger. This is a Zen Art No. 3 rigger brush, and just pick up some very loose. This is Winsor Violet plus a little bit of cobalt blue there. And then just hold the brush vertically and just tap it like that. And you get the effect where the dots have got a streak effect to them. You can see just there. They're not just dots from above. They're they have a little bit more movement in them. So you can do that. Of course, you can do that as well from above like that, but it's quite nice that way too. If you feel again that you've done too much, never fear, you can take some of them out if you feel there are too many. So there we are. And if you're not happy with what you've done, I'm not terribly thrilled with this one, but I'm going to put another line in there and hope that that's it really doesn't matter, because hey, it's fun. So I'm going to take that away from here, and I'm going to say I hope you give that a try. I think you'll enjoy it. The dragonflies are absolutely by no means up and about yet, but they are a symbol of renewed hope. And by golly, by gumbo, by Jim, by Jove, if we don't need hope, I don't know what we need. So I hope you have a happy new year, New Year's celebrations coming up. I hope everything goes well for you. I hope you're all keeping well, and I'll see you again here soon.